streaming. All right, guys, I just want to apologize for some technical difficulties. It sometimes happens on stream, so it's normal. Things happen. I'm pretty sure this isn't going to be the last time that it happens. Trust me, we're probably going to run into probably more than 10, 15, 20 of them. But I'm going to put the music down a little bit so you guys can hear me talk. But here we are talking about the go-home show tonight for SmackDown, November 1st, 2024. We're going to be talking about various things here. We saw the Bloodline talk in the ring. They had a little reunion there, so it's going to be really interesting to talk about that. It's probably going to be the thing we're going to spend time on the most with that. We are going to be talking about the Cody Rhodes versus Gunther, and also along with Liv Morgan and Nia Jax when it comes to their crown jewel title matches. And then when it comes to the mid-card stories, we also have Iyo Sky versus Piper Niven, Bianca Belair, and Lash Legend. We got Bayley and Naomi versus Candice, LeRae, and Indi Hartwell. The Street Profits versus Pretty Deadly. And we will go over our crown jewel predictions to close out the show and possibly talk about some news that happened a little later, because there was some things that happened tonight, unfortunately, when it comes to certain people. So I figured we might as well save that towards the end of the show, just because it is a hot topic, and I do know there's a lot of people giving their own personal thoughts on it. Won't spend too much time on it, but at least shed a few thoughts on it. But yeah, that's your little Stampede. Vash isn't here, so that was just my version of it. But here we go. We're going to be starting the show.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, what is up? What is good? Welcome to the Weebs of the Ring podcast. We are two weebs who have anime in our soul and thoughts of wrestling out of control, and we love the entertainment of professional wrestling, so allow us to be the voices inside of your head as we go through the wrestling events of the evening, give our thoughts and predictions on what's to come, and provide an experience inclusive to all you nerds out there. So be sure to grab your steel chair, yell for the table, and get put through an experience unlike any other. We are brought to you by Anima Wii Studio, and this is, of course, the Weebs of the Ring podcast. Hopefully you guys are having a lovely first day of November. Hopefully Halloween was kind to you all and you had safe travels, trick-or-treating and all that. I, of course, am your world champion Watkins here, bringing you guys the lowdown on the SmackDown, on the go home before Crown Jewel. And as always, I am joined by my co-host. We have the genius of the mat himself, Drop This Box. Drop, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. I'll say this though, not entirely sure how long the show is going to be tonight. I know me and Watkins always say it's not going to be too long, but then we end up going for 2 hours. Yeah. But I feel like I'm actually pretty confident that this show isn't going to be super long, because this is the go home show. This was also a taped show, so the same crowd you saw last week is the same crowd you saw tonight, because they had a lot going on, so they had to tape this show when they went over to Saudi. But we do have some hot topics, like I discussed in the Stampede, that we will go over. But for the most part, I'm pretty sure we'll be able to breeze through this.
Oh yeah, and we'll touch on that hot topic here in a little bit. And don't worry, we're not going to be going to a mall and getting some fun anime swag and all that. We had some big news that came out before SmackDown, but before we get into all of that, we're just gonna chill. And tonight's vibe seems kind of chill. I don't know about you, but like
Yeah.
I'm feeling kind of mellow, feeling kind of down, but like in a good way, kind of down. Like SmackDown, it was very, very easy, like you were saying, pre-taped, not too much, not too big storylines going forward, except for one big one that we're going to start off here talking about. Which, yeah, we are going to start talking about it. We're going to talk about the Bloodline reuniting now. So, this was a big moment here and something that we've been anticipating for since this whole Temu bloodline started going off. And
Yep.
this is actually a moment that I have been waiting for with this whole return. And one thing that I know, even on this show, that I've said this is like the crux of it all. Uh, but the main thing here was that Jay was coming here to speak with Roman. They need to bury the hatchet, squash the beef, all that stuff. They need to be on the same page before facing off against Solo and his boys tomorrow at Crown Jewel. So we had Jimmy. He went to Roman. He was just like, I need you to squash this. You and Jay need to be on the same page. And before Roman can even speak, Jay comes out, interrupts him, and the words Jay was saying is everything I needed him to say. Things like, basically laying down the law, saying, like, mainly the last part is if I see or hear or experience anything that you did when I was with you before, it's over. It's done. Like, basically, one strike and you're out, Roman. So I know I appreciated that, but Drop, how did you feel about Jay's words here tonight?
So this was probably my favorite part of the night, if I'm being 100% honest,
Hmm.
because when I was jumping into this SmackDown at first, I really wasn't drawn in. I didn't really expect to be drawn in like 100% because it was a taped show and you could really feel that feeling of a taped show. But one of the things I was
Hmm.
looking forward to the most, of course, is probably the hottest show, the hottest storyline that's currently going on in SmackDown, which is the Bloodline. And obviously, we saw events take place on Monday, so we were really curious to see what the lead up was going to be for this Friday. So when I saw Roman and Jimmy in the ring, I'm like, okay, let's see what they're going to do with this. Because one of the things that I wanted to see the most when I was jumping in this entire thing, I wanted to see exactly how Jay was going to work alongside Roman and Jimmy, because I didn't want it to be one of those things where it's like, okay, you know what, Jimmy, you know what, Roman, we're cool, they cost me my titles, you guys were there for me, we're all buddy buddy now. Like, I didn't want anything like that because I wanted it to
Hmm.
feel realistic, especially when you look at what happened between all of them. So one of the things I really did appreciate that Jay did is he left some ground rules where he was pretty much saying, we're equals now. I don't want you to treat me any different. And obviously, you put me through a lot of shit, so I'm not going to forget about that stuff that easily, which is a realistic thing to say because if I was put in a scenario like that or Watkins was put in a scenario like that, I would assume we would probably say the same thing when it comes to like, okay, you realize you did a lot of shit to me. I'm not going to just be buddy buddy with you and then history's erased after that. So I liked that realistic approach to it because even though it was, some crumbs getting thrown in there, it was still a little something that I really appreciated, that I loved, and you could feel the emotion coming out of it, especially with what you saw towards the end. But that's just something I wanted. I want some clarification of Jay's mindset. And I know how Jay is. Jay's a very upfront character that we've seen. And I was expecting something like this to come out of him. So I was very happy that he decided to say that to Roman and Jimmy. But the real test now is to see how this extends from Crown Jewel leading up to Survivor Series and, leading up to the end of the year, etc., so on. That's the real test because Jay left some rules like I just went over. So we're going to have to see exactly how that's carried on throughout that story, because then that's when things are really going to start getting good, because you're going to see that character progression from Roman. You're going to see that character progression from Jay and Jimmy. You're going to see things progress organically so these guys could be on the same page again. Obviously, Jay said he has, Jimmy's trust 100%, stuff like that. But, at the same time, when it comes to him and Roman, because with Jimmy and Jay, I wasn't that concerned about because they're brothers at the end of the day. And yes, Jimmy did a couple of fucked up things where he cost some titles and stuff like that. But my main concern was his relationship with Roman, because that's where most of the damage was done. Like Jay said, when it came to physical damage and mental damage. So I liked how that was addressed, because that's something that you have to really look into when it comes to understanding that relationship between him and Roman. So that was what I mainly enjoyed about that the most, because I like how they're giving the audience the answers that they wanted. They didn't just throw us a bone and expected us to be happy with it just to see the three of them together and putting the ones up. Like, you actually had a proper build up to it to be like, okay, we're gonna progress through this as a family, and that's something I really appreciated.
Yeah, and that was like the main crux of Jay's speech here. Just like, I'm back here because you're family. Like, family is supposed to come back here. And like, take that what you will. I understand, toxic relationships even within families and all that. Like, you don't want to automatically go back to them. And that's why, like, we've been sounding like broken records all year leading up to this moment about how they've sorry guys, I am just like very itchy tonight for some reason. The yeah, you have to be very careful with a story like this, because like you don't want to give the wrong impression. You don't want to be like, oh well, Jay's just going back to his abuser and all that stuff. It's like, no, there's more nuance with all this. And that's why I'm glad, like, with a lot of what Jay was saying here, like, and I kind of wrote some of it down here. Like, I think one thing that did stick with me was like he did mention that this isn't automatically fixed.
Yeah, exactly.
This isn't just some like quick fix, like you were talking about. And like I've actually experienced that on my own, like on the other side of somebody being like, well, this isn't automatically fix everything. And it's just like, well, yeah, no shit. For one, this is only just a step forward. Like, this is a step in the way to make things better. And another line too, I kind of want to just hold on to this at least for the future. It's when Jay was just like, hey, you do one thing that you used to do and I'm out of here. Like, I'm done. We're over this, moving on and all that stuff. And I feel like there is going to be a moment where that's going to happen, where Roman might back into that old way and like try to make them do something, try to like make them feel less than, and it'll probably push Jay away a little bit again. And like that, we might get that little wrinkle in this story. So I at least want to hold on to that line as well. And now we had Roman's response with this too, and a good start with it. I'm gonna want some more substance later on, but for Crown Jewel being the filler arc that it's going to be, a simple yeet was all I needed from Roman. And I shit you not, when it happened, I literally threw my glasses off. I was just like, nah, there's no way we're doing the yeet now. Like, there's no way we're having Roman yeet now. Like, that was awesome. And I sent this message too in our group chat. I never expected when yeet first became a thing, when that was a word that first entered the zeitgeist that is the internet, it was cringy as all hell. Like, I hated anybody that used the word yeet. I was like, stop it, that's annoying, don't do that, enough of that, delete it off the internet. Never did I think that in the year of 2024 that hearing the simple word yeet would bring a tear to my damn eye. Like, that, just that moment alone made this segment great. And then Jimmy again being the crux of most of this, being the one to like push them to come back together. He's the one that starts the one, and then Jay just following suit, being like, you know what, yeah, we are the ones. We're the ones that are going to be ruling everything again, and Roman coming back to that. Like this whole segment from start to finish was really freaking good. Even leading up to it, we had Jimmy again, like telling Roman, I need you to do this. Like, you need to do this. Like, mainly for your soul, dude. Like, this is family. Like, it's not just a cousin thing, because, like, they're closer than cousins. He's like, this is a brother thing. Like, Jay is your brother. Squash this beef and let's get like Solo done and out with this. And the simple fact that Roman couldn't even respond to Jimmy before Jay came out. And like, when you look at Roman's facial expressions and his overall demeanor in the ring as Jay's coming out, like, you can kind of get this feeling that Roman's like, oh, Jay really has grown up a bit.
Yep.
He's like on a different level now. Like, he is on equal level now.
Yeah, he's not the same Jay that he saw before.
Yeah, exactly. And like, you can see that, you could feel that, like, just with the crowd. Like, the crowd, bless them, for having such a long night that they did with some of these taped parts.
Yeah, 4 hours.
But like, dude, they were on it with this entrance, which was something I loved. The fact they were even singing Jay, like, I don't remember many crowds singing beyond Jay's entrance here.
I didn't see that many people singing Gunther's theme, but we saw that today too during the press conference.
Yeah, like, it was crazy. So this whole segment again, I thought was really good, and we did have a follow-up segment too with Solo that we'll probably touch on here in a little bit. But like, was there anything else that you noticed in this little segment that we had with the Bloodline? Because like, again, there's a lot that you could dissect from this. Like, take some time to just kind of look at all the little nuances and all that. But I do want to at least see if you pointed out anything that nobody else did.
I mean, you pretty much you said like the rest that I wanted to say about this segment, because what really popped out at me is what I already went over. The rest of it is pretty much what you said.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, again, like, later on, I would like some more from Roman to like actually kind of talk a little bit more. But again, we got filler arc coming up with Crown Jewel. Once we're done with that, we can start getting like our substance back for our stories and all that. But we did get a response from Solo, and this is something I needed from Solo as well. Like, his side of everything, being like, you guys kind of pushed me around when I needed help when I was part of the Bloodline. You guys weren't there, but now guys are gonna come back to Roman. Like, I'm the bad guy here? No, I found a part of the family that enjoys me having me around. Like, I found the people that I needed in my life. So how am I the bad guy again? How am I? Yep. Like, I like that, because again, it's justified heel work.
Yeah, and it makes a lot of sense, because you also got to look into exactly like why Solo is doing what he's doing, because you can't just look at it and be like, oh, Solo just wanted out of his group and he decided to form his own and that's it. Like, obviously there was more to it than just that. Like, Watkins just went over. He pretty much gave them a reason as to why he's in the position that he is now. And that was, very needed to, of course, add more to the whole entire feud that's going on, so the audience can get that understanding of Solo's motives when it comes to the sort of decisions that he makes.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate that we got a little bit of that tonight, because, again, it adds more to it, so you guys could understand Solo's side of the story, so it's not just this complete blank page. So I did like that.
Yeah. So but like I'm just glad that we got that,
Yeah.
because I think that's one thing, like not saying we've been missing it, because like you can kind of grasp that just from Solo doing what he's doing now,
Yeah.
but it having the words behind it and just the timing of it too, I think, is really good. Like,
Oh yeah.
again, we could have used his words earlier. That would have been fine. But like, I think it means more now, just because the Usos are back together, because the OG Bloodline's back together. I think now it adds more weight to it all, And I mean, I'm excited for their match tomorrow. I think it'll be a good cinematic
Yeah.
masterpiece, if you will, because if anything tonight showed it, they they really know how to pull at the heartstrings, and they know, like, this is the long-term storytelling that we keep harping about. This is the payoff for all that. This is your payoff for being invested in a story, having your characters like be part of the group, have your characters like live in the moment and live with us in the audience, because
Yeah.
like, again, I never thought a single yeet would ever get a tear out of me, and my eyes started welling up when like
Yeah.
Roman was just like yeet, and I'm like, dude,
Yeah,
hell yeah.
that's just the power of
Yeah.
storytelling. That's why when I watch wrestling, like I said all the time, but I'm going to keep on saying it as for the existence of
Hmm.
this entire podcast, you can give us good matches all the time, but if you're not going to give me a
Yeah.
concrete story behind it, I'm not going to get invested in it because I want a reason to get invested in these characters. You think we just watch movies just to watch movies? No. A movie is there where it sets up a story that drives you in and gets you invested in all these kinds of characters when it comes to whatever arc is going on with that said character or whatever's being
Hmm.
addressed in that movie or book in general. And when it comes to stuff like this, it really brings you in because it makes it feel realistic. Like you can imagine this happening in real life, and some people could probably relate to that in a way. Not necessarily saying that you need to relate to every single story within the wrestling space,
Yeah.
but at least it gets you emotionally invested, which was pretty much what I was trying to say.
Hmm. Yeah. And like, one thing I always take in whenever I'm like trying to consume media or art or anything is that as long as it's getting some sort of emotion out of me, whether that's anger, sadness, happiness, joy, like whatever, as long as you get some sort of reaction from me, then Art the Clown. I saw
They'll
that.
definitely get a
As
reaction out
long
of
as
you.
you get, it's all good. As long as you get some sort
Mm.
of emotion out of me, then you've pretty much done your job. The worst thing any piece of art or media can do is make me feel bored or make me feel nothing,
Yeah.
And that's just the thing about, like, you could throw that at WWE, AEW, TNA, NXT, whatever have you. As long as you get some sort of emotion out of me, you've done your job. And WWE has been doing fantastic with that. The Bloodline stuff has really been doing that, especially this year.
Oh yeah.
Um, and that's the thing, just like with this year's whole build too. I mean, we're getting the payoff from dealing with Solo. Like, I remember weeks on end, people like on the online being like, "Oh, why is Solo doing this? Why is he acting like that?" And I mean, I probably partook in some of
I
those
did too.
conversations
I
too
did too.
online.
Yeah.
Ye- Oh yeah,
I never cared
but
for him.
like, this is, yeah, me either. But like, now look at him. He's starting to grow into his character, starting to be something more, and the story now, like, we're invested. This is how you get people invested in your product. How you keep getting them coming back. How you keep like getting your sales going up. How you keep making that wonderful moolah, that money, and all that, and how you can keep, you know, outselling, or yeah, selling out your venues, even though your ticket prices keep going up and up and up and up. Like, this is how you do it, because of the investment and all that,
Yeah.
and take those shots what you will, with whatever side of the fence you want to be on with this supposed war or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, this is just how you do it. This is how you do it. All right.
Hmm.
Ah, man, I'm excited for it. I can't wait.
Yeah, we'll see what happens
Hmm.
tomorrow. Obviously, we go into further discussions for our predictions so we can give some
Oh, yeah.
concrete answers and explanations behind him. But I like
Yep.
how you mentioned living in the moment. That was a word that I noticed that you kept saying when you were giving your initial thoughts on the whole Bloodline story. Gonna be excited to dive into that a little bit later because I do have some thoughts on that. But thinking about living in another moment, of course, has to deal with Cody Rhodes and Gunther first, which we should touch on before we get into the ladies.
Oh, don't worry.
And
don't worry. We'll touch on Cody here. We'll touch on Cody here.
I do need to find some little notes to add on to there. So if you wanna give your initial thoughts on that,
of course. Well, we had a few things that go on with this whole Cody Rhodes thing because, like, not only are we setting up for Cody Rhodes and Gunther's match at Crown Jewel tomorrow, but we're also kind of laying down some groundwork for Kevin Owens and Randy Orton tomorrow. So I'm gonna start with this Kevin Owens video that we had because, well, at first I didn't think Kevin was going to be on the show tonight, but now he does end up being on the show, which we'll touch on in a little bit. But like he said in another video saying, I tried to contact Randy Orton. He's not answering my calls. So you know what? Here's another video for you, WWE. If you want to air it, fine, go ahead. But he's basically saying he doesn't want to fight Orton. He still looks up to Orton in a way, but like now that they are having this match, which he's still not sure why he's going to go through with it, but whatever. He's going to hurt Randy Orton. He's going to hurt Randy as much as Randy hurt him. And like KO right here in these video segments that he's been doing, he's very vulnerable. And it's probably the most vulnerable we've seen Kevin probably ever in WWE. And it really adds to his character, and again, like adds to the whole idea of being a justified heel because he's hurt. Like, and I love how Michael Cole on commentary, how he worded it, where it's just like he's mad at Cody for teaming up with his arch nemesis Roman. So like just the term arch enemy Roman, like arch enemy, like Kevin has an arch enemy, and when you go back and kind of think about it, it's just like he was like Roman was his arch enemy. Like they had multiple matches in 2020 in 2021 and all that. They had multiple matches just recently in like 2023 and well, not 2024, but yeah, that's besides the point. But like Kevin's been such a focal point as well within the Bloodline story that it makes sense why he's so mad at Cody for, teaming with Roman. And in the same aspect, why he's so mad at Randy for taking Cody's side in all this, So I really like this beginning segment. And again, he's vowing to hurt Randy. And we're probably going to see another like apron powerbomb from him. I was listening to Cultaholic's pitches video, and there was a moment that they were, because like all three of them mentioned this match, and one of them had mentioned something about Kevin doing the punt kick on Orton. Which would be sick. Like kind of giving Orton a taste of his own medicine from back in the day. But do you have any thoughts on this Kevin Owens video that we had earlier in the night?
So when it comes to that, like obviously we know the way that Kevin Owens is being shown to us on television now. This is a different kind of Kevin Owens because this is pretty much a Kevin Owens where he actually got close to somebody for the very first time. Because when it comes to the sort of relationships that we've seen with KO, when it comes to Sammy or it comes with like Chris Jericho, etc., so on, a lot of the people that he really got close to at that time, he ended up just really shifting gears easily like that quick. But when it came to Randy and Cody, it actually felt like a legit friendship. He, like he said himself, he actually felt comfortable around them. He felt like he could trust them. And you can't really argue with his reasoning when it comes to, like Watkins said, with how Cody teamed up with Roman Reigns, because Roman Reigns was the top heel in the company where he was pretty much running through everybody, and he gave KO a lot of problems, especially when you looked up to that lead up with WrestleMania last year, where KO was like restrained inside of the ring before Sammy eventually turns on Roman Reigns and hit him across the back, which made the internet go wild. And that was probably one of the best endings to a Royal Rumble that I've seen in such a long time. But just judging off of that history, you can't blame him for feeling that way towards Roman, because he put him through a lot of shit. So seeing somebody that he was close to, somebody that he trusts, work alongside Roman Reigns, like we discussed before, it's obviously going to fuck him up inside, and he's going to react the way he does. You can't really blame him for reacting that way, because I probably would have done the same thing, call somebody out on their bullshit. Oh, hey, me and you were fighting with this person, and then all of a sudden you and him are best friends, buddy, just trying to take out a common enemy just because you got beef with him. Like, what about the stuff that me and you went through? So it's like, I would probably react the exact same way, call out the bullshit. And when it comes to Randy, I feel like that's also very interesting as well, because like when Randy came in there initially, he was just trying to play peacemaker, and he was trying to calm KO down, but KO didn't understand why Randy did what he did, and I don't think he really knew that he hit him across the face. So I don't really think that's a big vocal point, because I would have brought that up by now. But to him, he's probably looking at it where it's like, hey, you're coming in there to stop me. Why didn't you join me, considering that me and you went to war with the Bloodline before Roman came back, and we had all these matches with them over and over and over again with the Tongans?
Yeah.
So that was pretty much his reasoning on why he attacked him and all that. So it's like, I agree with Kevin Owens 100% with the sort of actions that he's taking. You can't really blame him. And when it comes to that pitch that you mentioned before, that I did want to comment on, that I heard you say, the only thing I will say against that is, could it happen? Sure. But to me, it sort of feels like the Randy Orton punt kick in Kevin Owens' world is the apron bomb. Because you only really see Kevin Owens do that apron bomb when it comes to a situation where he really wants to fuck you up and get underneath your skin and just completely obliterate you. Like that's pretty much like KO's punt kick that I noticed, because that was something I thought about like for years, like ever since I got introduced to Kevin Owens for the very first time, which was NXT, and then seeing him on the main roster and stuff. And when I saw Randy Orton do the punt kick all those years ago, and then I saw Kevin Owens do that apron bomb, I was like, I think this is like KO's version of that, where it's like, if you really set him off, he's gonna hit you with that apron bomb, and he's just gonna completely, go ballistic. Because we saw signs of that when he was fighting Cody, so obviously there was some tease with it for a reason. So it feels like he's definitely going to lean into that, and I'll save like more thoughts on that a little bit later when it comes to that match with him and Randy, so I can go in depth, because I don't want to spoil the conversation here. But I did want to chime in and say that, could it happen? Sure. But it just, to me personally, I just feel like his medicine when it comes to revenge is the apron bomb in my eyes. I mean, if we're bringing that up in general, I mean, Randy could easily do something like that again. We haven't really seen him do that for quite some time, and he's really pissed off Randy Orton, so you never know if he might end up doing something like that again. I mean, we probably will see that once Randy turns heel in general. He might actually pull that out of his bag. I feel like that's probably more of a heel thing for him to do now that I think about it. I don't know if he could really do that as a face. But
well, he could probably tease it, because like, and I think that's part of where the story might be going with it.
Yeah.
Because like commentary keeps trying to put over Kevin Owens, and this is why I kind of lean towards the punt kick being added with like the beatdown and all that. Because like commentary keeps mentioning, and even Triple H mentioned, like, this is an entirely different Kevin Owens. This is a Kevin Owens that's like almost mad crazy. So it's like, that's why I could see him doing more than just, his apron powerbomb. Because I do agree with you. Like, that's his version of the punt kick, is that apron power bomb he does, because that's
Yeah.
his like most devastating move and all that. And like to somebody with
It's
Orton's
almost like the buckle bomb with
injury
Seth
history.
Rollins, to be honest.
Hmm. Yeah, and like with Orton's injury history, especially his recent injury
Yeah.
history with the surgery he had,
Yeah.
that's pretty much almost a given, because
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they mentioned it tonight too again.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a big target, but we'll dive a little bit more deeper later on with all of
Um,
that. So backstage, Randy ends up going over to Cody and is just like, "Hey, look, I can try to leave you some of Kevin Owens, because Cody wants some of Kevin Owens as well when Randy's done, but Randy can't really guarantee there's going to be much of Kevin Owens left." But the main look away or takeaway from this segment is, as Cody's like lacing up his boots, you see the WWE title just kind of hanging in there, like in the background, like this
mhm.
almost. And Orton, as Cody's eyes are down, tying his boots and all that, Orton, he eyes that title. He eyes that title again. Like, he's not playing.
Did the same thing last
He's
week
not
too.
playing hard to get with that thing.
Yeah, last
Yeah,
week he
like
did the
he
same
wants
thing.
that thing.
Because last week
Hmm.
when he went to go save Cody from Gunther and Kaiser, um, you would think normally he would just run down there, go to Cody first, but he actually went for the title first and handed it to Cody.
Yeah, like they're planting those seeds pretty
Yeah,
well,
and I'm
and
happy they're taking the
that
time with it
this
because I don't want them to rush that shit.
same here. And I mean, if they wanted to be bold with it, they could just make this the Mania match.
I would prefer that. If, I mean
Like,
that's why like I like because it is a WrestleMania match. It's a lot of history that you could throw in
mhm,
there, so I wouldn't not be against it at all. Especially if they wanted to do something a little bit different to really keep Cody out of the whole bloodline situation. The only reason
yeah,
why I'm like 50-50 on it is because at the end of the day, it does fall into The Rock's hands when it comes to the sort of
mhm,
direction that he wants to go down. And knowing how he
yeah,
has history with Cody already, and it was already referenced earlier this year. And also, we saw that Bad Blood 2 where he did like the 1, 2, 3, then he put his fingers down and he
mhm,
did like the throat slash, pretty much saying that you know what, you fucked up there. Um,
yeah,
that's why it's just making me think. Well, it's like, would this be a cool direction to go down with Randy? Sure. I mean, going down the direction of Rock would be cool too, because Rock was phenomenal this year. He honestly surprised me with
mhm,
what he did. Not putting anything against him, but definitely a new character
yeah,
change did wonders. But it's like, that's why it's like it's kind of like he has the keys to the kingdom, pretty much. Where it's like
mhm,
Rocky does have a big part in all of this, but um,
yeah,
go just chiming in on that like segment that we saw like backstage, just to give like a few thoughts that you said. Like I mentioned, I'm glad that they're taking their time with it. I just want to know the exact like motive,
mhm,
or I guess the exact trigger that really pulls everything together. And I'm not
right,
entirely sure when they're gonna do this whole thing of Cody and Randy, because you still got a story going on at Randy and KO. So it's like you kind of have to get that out of the way first, because Cody has like a lot of things being thrown at him right now. Because if they want to jump into this
yeah,
Randy thing, they could do that down the line. But then they also had this ongoing story with Randy, so we never know what could happen with that if KO potentially overcomes Randy and then KO hops into the picture again. So I'm
mhm,
just really curious to see like, okay, when is this moment between Randy and Cody really happen? But I do
yeah,
like how we had this tag match tonight between the both of them, because it was
yeah,
really nice just to see Cody and Randy tagging together, like just the two of them tagging with one
mhm.
another. Like that's something that I really did
Yeah, because we
appreciate
haven't
seeing.
gotten that in years.
No, because they have been in
Like,
tag matches. Maybe they could, maybe they were in tag matches before. It was just both of them. I can't remember on the top of my head. But for the
maybe,
most part,
yeah,
there's usually like another guy or two thrown in there with them, so it's never just them.
yeah,
But I did like this. I did like this tag match. I mean, you got Cody, Randy, Kaiser, and Gunther. Like, what do you expect? It's going to be a pretty entertaining match all the way through, so that shouldn't really be a shocker to anybody. I mean, there was a lot of good spots thrown in there, a lot of good offense, a lot of good defense. So there was no surprise there when it came to that.
And really, like, big props for Kaiser too. Like, he's in the ring right now with 3 world champions.
Yeah.
2 of them current world champions, and one of them a former 14 time.
Yep. Could be a potential 15 down the line. Never know.
Oh man, that'd be great. That'd be great. But that's besides the point.
Yeah.
As much as I want that.
Shows how important he is, though.
But exactly, and like Kaiser being in the mix of that, like, because he looked really good tonight too.
Oh yeah.
Like some of his offense, like especially him and Gunther, basically like keeping Cody at bay from Randy. Like there was a lot of cheap shots going on from both of them. Like there was one moment that it's just clear in my head where Kaiser had Cody like between the ropes, and he was like raking his eyes, and then like the ref was pushing him off, but like you could see like Gunther like hurriedly getting like going over the corner and then like running to boot Cody in the head. Like that part was just kind of fun to watch, because like you're seeing these 2 guys that are just like, they're not desperate, but they're being very scrappy in how they're trying to beat down Cody and all that.
Oh, yeah.
But unfortunately, as much as I wanted to praise Kaiser there, and as fun as this match was for a bit, he was gonna end up being the one eating the pin anyways, eating an RKO, eating a Crossroads, and all that stuff.
Spam finisher central.
But yeah, exactly. And so Cody and Randy win, and Triple H is such a good he loves to troll. He loves to do that thing where it's just like, oh, here's the graphic. Oh, here's our end credits, that look like freaking South Park end credits, but that's neither here nor there.
Looks like it has
here's
the same
all the
font
things,
too.
shows coming out. Do what?
Looks like it has the same font too.
Exactly. Like every time it pops up, I shit you not. Every time it pops up, I'm expecting to hear the from South Park's ending.
Is that
like,
only on like NXT and SmackDown? Because I don't know if I really see it on Raw unless I'm not paying attention.
What, the like the credits when it says like the producers or whatever?
Yeah, I don't recall seeing it on Raw.
I'd have to go back. I
don't know.
I want to say yes, but yeah, I'd have to go back. But the reason I keep bringing that up is because, hey, Kevin Owens is here with a steel chair.
Watkins showed up.
Yeah, he made it. He made it all right. Destroys Randy, and I love how, and this. Oh wait, this might actually tie in too with Randy and Cody here, because Kevin ultimately just destroys Randy with a steel chair. But Cody at first doesn't do anything.
No.
Like, he just watches this go on. He doesn't go like right for Kevin. Like, he just watches this go on. And it's like, wait, why aren't you helping? And then Gunther comes in to put the sleeper hold on him. But it's like, Cody, you had some time to help.
Yeah.
Like, why didn't you help?
The only thing I can think of is that he had bloodlust and he was just aimed at KO just because of that hatred. That's the only thing I can really think of.
I guess.
I mean, I get what you're trying to say, but it's like, maybe it was just that adrenaline rush that he had. It was like, dude, I just really want to fuck this guy up. And he wasn't really paying attention of his surroundings. And then that's what ended up having Gunther come in and put that sleeper hold on him.
Well, Gunther putting the sleeper hold on him is fine, but it's just like, why didn't he just like with that adrenaline in his soul that his song tells us that he has? Yeah. Why didn't that adrenaline push him towards Kevin earlier? But it might have been camera work too. Maybe his back was still turned or something. I don't know.
Probably.
But I mean that's basically our setup or more push for these two matches. And if you guys caught I don't know, did you see some of that kickoff thing that they
Yeah, I
had
watched it
earlier
during
today?
work today when I was eating lunch.
Hmm. You saw Kevin showed up too
Yeah.
with Randy's part. I did like that part where he's just like, they've been kissing your ass for 5 minutes now. Enough's enough. Like that was kind of cool. And again, just threatening Randy, even just Randy's career too. Like, I am going to hurt you, and just throws the microphone at him. Like, heel Kevin Owens is probably the best Kevin Owens,
Mm-hmm.
and the fact that he's a justified heel in all this just makes it even more sweeter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, again, that's basically our build for all of that.
I do have
Hopefully, you
a couple
guys.
questions to ask you. I don't know if I should ask them now or wait for our predictions, but what do you think of that closing angle? You think that could give us a different outcome, or are you still sticking with what your answer is later on when we discuss it?
You know what? I'm gonna save that for when we discuss the card.
Yeah. Just
I'm
wanted to
gonna
throw
save
that in
because,
there
like,
because it was something I was pondering about, only because it's just that
mhm,
old school thinking that we were adjusted to growing up watching the product, which still
yeah.
sometimes actually comes into effect today, even with the new regime. But yeah, that'll be an
Mhm.
interesting conversation to start once we get to that.
Well, I feel like that little trope too
Mm.
very much ties in with a lot of other matches tonight as well,
Oh
and
yeah,
going into tomorrow.
yeah.
So
Oh yeah,
yeah,
which
we'll
actually
we'll
leads
we'll have
us,
that discussion.
into
Hmm?
the ladies when it comes to living in the moment, because we
Mm-hmm.
did have Nia Jax start off the show, which makes sense because you obviously got to highlight the other match that's coming together when it comes to the Crown Jewel Championship for the
Yeah.
ladies. And you pretty much just had, Nia Jax coming out claiming why she's worthy of having this title, because she even said it when she was at the kickoff show today, saying how she won Queen of the Ring and how she
Mhm.
went to SummerSlam. She won that title. She beat Bayley, and we're at another Saudi event, and she can do the exact same thing and make history again, being the first woman to obtain this Crown Jewel Championship. Which, by the way, people that are watching, they're not going to be carrying the title with them. They're actually going to be having like these Super Bowl rings, which I actually think is pretty cool. Not saying that's
I think, yeah.
justifying anything with this, because
Yeah.
you couldn't even like throw another cup of coffee at me for me to agree to that whole
Yeah.
concept. But I kind of think it's cool in a way. I'm kind of curious
Hmm.
to see what they look like. But
For some reason, I started thinking of, like, the Dynamite Diamond Ring with
yeah,
that,
yeah, it's a
and I'm
lot.
like, huh, man, if MJF was in this company
Mm.
and he won like
Oh,
5 of them, like, each year, I
we
mean,
know.
he would have a gauntlet.
Yeah, we know he's coming eventually. When he does,
One day.
I'm definitely looking forward to that, because
Oh, yeah.
gonna be really good seeing how he thrives here. Not saying that he isn't doing anything bad over there, because he's probably
No.
the glue that's really holding everything together. Because I mean, to me, he's pretty much
Yeah.
the top guy in the company over there, like how Cody and Roman are over here.
Yeah.
If I'm being honest, Will Ospreay is probably like the other guy. Him and Ospreay probably the top guys in that
Mhm.
company. But when it comes to um this match as a whole, like when it um like I said earlier, not earlier, like I said, I feel like even though I'm not a fan of how Cody and Gunther is happening right now without a actual story behind it beyond this, it's still a match I'm looking forward to. This one I'm not
Mhm.
100% sure. That's not discrediting what they can do. I just don't really know how I feel about it as a whole. But
Mhm.
we'll see where it goes though, because we did have Liv Morgan come out. And I think one of the things I do love about Liv Morgan recently, and I actually was listening to the Impulsive podcast today when I was at work.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because
Okay.
Logan Paul actually had her on as a guest, and I believe the interview was like an hour and a half or so. And
Okay.
one of the things I really like about her recently is well, I can't say recently because it seems like she's always been like this. She's also a Jersey girl as well, just like how people from New York are like up front and they just tell you how it is. She's pretty confident when it comes to just being on the mic and saying what she wants. Like, she knows if she says anything about Rhea, just downplaying her, calling her a bitch, saying that she's shit and everything like that, she knows she's going to get a reaction out of the audience because she knows how much the audience cares about Rhea Ripley, which is, something that works in her favor so she can keep getting more and more heat behind her. So I just love how confident Liv is. And I'm going to say this again, this is the best version of Liv Morgan. I'm actually happy that they were able to, do something right when it comes to Liv's run as a world champion for the second time. Like, they actually did it right when it comes to her, like, presentation this time, where she actually feels like a new star. She doesn't really feel like the same Liv Morgan that we saw when she won the Money in the Bank and cashed it in on that night to win the title from Ronda Rousey. Like, she feels like a completely new character, which is something I can appreciate. So, just in general, just to throw out, something towards Liv Morgan, I'm really happy that she's in this spotlight. Just having the center of attention on her, the fact that we can focus on other people besides the main people they always push all the time. So it is nice to actually see a little change every once in a while. Not saying that whatever's going on to her and Rhea right now is fantastic, because it is a little cold right now. Not necessarily their fault. That's on creative's end. But like I said, I like how confident she was in here, how both of them were getting into their faces. But I think what really drew me into this was Tiffany Stratton. Because believe it or not, if I am being 100% honest with you right now, Watkins, I honestly feel like, even though this should be focused mainly on that Crown Jewel Championship that they're really trying to push with the ladies and men, Tiffany Stratton's kind of hogging the spotlight right here. Like, a lot more eyes are on her than it is when it comes to this Crown Jewel Championship, which rightfully so, because she is Miss Money in the Bank, so it makes sense, because you're always trying to figure out exactly what sort of plans Tiffany's going to do next. But I like how Tiffany has this different approach, and you can't fool me. I know what you're doing, which is fine, because that's how it's supposed to be shown on television. But I just like how she's her own person right now, which it seems like that's the sort of direction that they're trying to go down now, where she said that, she's pissed off, she's fed up with Liv's bullshit when it comes to her and Dom and everything else, and even Nia Jax. Like, even Nia Jax was actually trying to talk to her a little bit later, saying, oh, did you really mean all that? Were you actually going to cash on me, do this or that? And Liv's like, oh, no. I mean, Rhea's like, Tiffany's like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I want her to think that this is going to happen, but that's just a tactic that normally happens, where it's like you're trying to get into someone's head, trying to put out all these possible scenarios inside of their head, so you can't really predict what sort of direction that they're going to go down. But I just like how, Tiffany's like just really out there, just letting things off her chest, because I just like seeing her just showcase that, yes, I am Miss Money in the Bank. I do not give a rat's ass if it's Liv. I don't give a rat's ass if it's Nia Jax. I'm going to go after whatever title I want, which rightfully so, because it's like, I mean, why wouldn't you be like that? You have every right to boast. So that was like my favorite part of this segment overall. Like, yes, we're going to have the back and forth with Liv and Nia, but I mean, Tiffany pretty much stole the show with this, especially for a little comment to Liv Morgan when it came to, oh, if I cash on you, does that mean Dirty Dom comes with me because I need a little dirty in my life?
I swear, if that were to happen and Dom left Liv and went with Tiffany,
did you see his reaction? Did you see his
reaction?
Yeah,
no, I saw.
That was something that because that was something that like a lot of people pinned, where it's like they saw when Tiffany said it, and it's almost like he was contemplating for a little bit, and then Liv looked at him and he changed his whole facial expression at that point, which I thought was hilarious.
Dom is never going to be a babyface ever again.
You can't. You can't
anymore, because like Especially if like somehow you have him leave Liv and go with Tiffany. People are really also not gonna like that because, well, of reasons that I'll just leave at that part. But
Yeah.
like
And
I am glad you brought up Tiffany kind of being like the focal point,
mhm.
because I'm kind of feeling even more so than Hell in a Cell. I'm feeling more that the cash in might happen tomorrow. Mainly because like, well, let's look at this match first of all. You have Nia Jax, who's a heel, a big heel at that point.
Mhm.
You have Liv Morgan
The
with
heel.
Dom,
The heel.
who are two despicable, despise heels in the company. So it's like you really don't have many people to cheer in this match. You
No.
want to kind of just boo both
Yeah.
of them.
Yeah, because you have a face and
And
a heel in the
Rhea's
other
not.
match, but the other one is just two heels.
Mhm. Exactly. And like you don't have Rhea to come in and get involved because she's injured, which, hopefully you get better. Please,
Did you
mommy,
hear the
we
news
need you
about
back.
that? Did you hear the news about her? By the way, just since her name's brought up, that
Oh,
apparently, like we
about like
discussed,
where it came up, or Mhm.
well, I guess original plans before the injury came in
Oh
effect,
yeah.
it was actually supposed to be her and Raquel at Crown Jewel, which is something we speculated anyway, because it seemed
Hmm.
like that was the direction they were going down. But, get well
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, no, I heard about that. Yeah, please get well soon. But yeah, like you have the perfect opportunity, because I know we've mentioned it on this show too, about Tiffy becoming like having that face turn and all that. And you have a great opportunity here because like you have two despicable heels
Mhm.
about to fight each other, about to destroy each other.
Mhm.
Even Liv earlier tonight, it was like, apparently last time they had a match together, Liv beat Nia, so there's
Oh yeah, that
that.
was earlier
But
this
like,
year when they had that whole thing with
hmm
I think that was like after that match Becky had with her, and then it was
yeah,
remember that back and forth Becky and Liv had at Nia earlier this year.
hmm
Yeah, that's what she's
yeah.
leaning
So like,
into.
yeah, so it's like Liv has beaten her before, so like they're gonna, destroy each other. Well, Nia more to Liv, but
Oh
I mean,
yeah,
they're gonna do some damage to each other, and I think Tiffy might cash in this weekend, whether it's before, during, or after the match. One of them, probably Nia, is gonna hold the title, and if not, then I don't know when, but. I also know too that like Naomi's also kind of next in line too, um, because they did have a little short little thing later on where she went up to Nia and was just like, keep that title warm for me because I'm coming for it. So I mean, we might be doing a program with them later on. I don't know if that's gonna be like a long program or what, but
yeah.
yeah. So, but I'm glad again that you brought up the Tiffany thing basically being the center point
Yeah.
of all of this.
I mean, like, there's a part of me where I can see the cash in happen, which we will dive a little bit
Mhm.
later into that, so I don't want to spoil the entire conversation here. But then there's the other part of me where it's like, maybe it's one of those, I'm just gonna save it for there because I feel like we could definitely just
Yeah.
feel more free and just express ourselves here. But that's mainly what I
Mhm.
took out of the promo segment of this. The match itself, like
Yeah.
me and Watkins both agreed on, it really wasn't much. It went by
It
really,
was
really
nothing.
fast, which was a common theme with a lot of these matches tonight. A lot of them went by
Yeah.
fast, probably because of the whole thing with it being tape, and they were really trying to get through it so they can have a show for this week, which I can understand, but at the same time, I can't really say that's
Mhm.
a good excuse because you still got to make sure that you're putting on a product for your fans to enjoy. And knowing how you got
Exactly.
somebody like Liv Morgan and, Tiffany going at each other, and just seeing how Tiffany was handled in that match, I really
Mhm.
wasn't that big of a fan of it. I mean, you could
Yeah.
have done something a little bit more than that, but I mean, hey, all to you. But I mean, definitely like the segment itself, especially when comes to Tiffany for the most part, I will say was probably the
Mhm.
most enjoyable part to me. The match itself, I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it was just a match. I mean, uh,
I
not
mean, they
s-
had good chemistry.
Yeah,
Like,
they do.
like they were moving, yeah, they were moving in the ring pretty well with each other. It's just like when Nia just kind of kicks, like, well, first of all, Nia was very smooth with kicking the briefcase into the ring.
Oh, yeah.
Like that was pretty damn smooth. But
Yeah.
like as soon as she kicked it, Tiffany tries to hit Liv with it, gets rolled up, and that's it. And even a roll up where the referee was distracted too. So like
Yeah.
Tiffy had time to kick out, but like
Yeah.
she just loses. And yeah, you could throw out, oh well, Liv had the tights, blah blah blah. But it's like, yeah, but it's still just it didn't hit like it should have. So
No.
hopefully they have a match later on down because again,
Yeah.
like they had some decent chemistry in the
Yeah.
ring.
Yeah, they had a match before in the past, like
Hmm.
a couple months ago that I would say was a lot better than this. But
Yeah.
again, I can't really say that the match was like anything special really. It just went by so quickly. So
Hmm.
like I said, the segment to me is what really stood out to me the most, mainly the parts with like Tiffany that really caught my interest. So,
Hmm. Yeah. And Archie in the comics, not comics, comments. I was thinking of Archie comics for some reason, but Archie in the comments. I know you're mentioning titties time and all that, which is fine, cool, neat, awesome. Funny you bring that up when we get into our next match here of Iyo Sky taking on Piper Niven, taking on Bianca Belair, taking on Lash Legend in a fatal four-way match to kind of give us a nice little teaser for where we're going to expect
oh
tomorrow
yeah,
night
yeah,
for the women's tag team
yeah,
title matches. Honestly, this might have been match of the night for me.
it was,
Uh,
yeah,
like they were, first of all four ladies. First of all, Iyo Sky is like the one tiny person in this match because you have like
yeah.
Piper Niven, Lash, and Bianca who are powerhouses, and then you have Iyo Sky who's just gonna be jumpy girl
It
the
was.
whole
I
night.
mean, I'm the
So
genius of the match.
great
She's
on
the
you.
genius of the sky, so she's
Yeah,
gotta handle that orbit.
exactly. Like somebody's got to. You've got the mat handled down,
Yeah,
and then we have Kyrie on the. Never mind. I'm not gonna touch Kyrie. No, never mind. Anyways, back to the match.
yeah,
So like there's a lot of hard hitting action in this. A lot of double teaming too from like Lash and Piper on everybody. Had picture in picture, so if Vash was watching, he would have loved that.
oh yeah,
Um, but I like this because like I feel like this is a good teaser for what we're getting tomorrow. Just from the powerhouse teams itself.
mm.
And I don't know, I had fun with this. It was a lot of fun with this match. Even when like the partners got involved outside too. Like I didn't really feel bored with this. And again, if you get any emotion out of me in something, you basically won me over.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I enjoyed this match too. I mean, like I said, it probably was the night. It probably was the match of the night for me as well because I just been. Well, I can't say I've been really high in the Sky Pirates recently. I just like
Mhm.
seeing them get some representation on the show. That's why I really appreciated that last week. They were on Monday Night Raw, they were on NXT, they were on
Mhm.
Friday Night Smackdown. So I just really appreciated just the spotlight that they're getting because they're definitely the girls that I really want to see some gold on because they just work their asses off
Same here.
and they definitely deserve some gold around their waist again. And hopefully
Yeah.
Iyo wins the Rumble next year. I mean, that's just my early prediction. Once we get into that, actually, I don't know anymore because I think
Yeah.
Rhea injury kind of could
Kind
potentially
of
actually,
derailed that.
yeah, because
Yeah.
we'll get into that discussion on Monday when it comes to the direction of Liv next. That's actually something I'm really curious with. But like, yeah, like
Mhm.
you said, this match itself was very fun. It was nice to see Lash. I'll say this though, like Lash, I'm not like super high on was a metaphor. Like I'm not like the hugest
Mhm.
fans of them, but I will say the highlight out of them would probably have to be Lash Legend and Noam Dar, if you know who he is.
Yeah.
He's I do enjoy seeing him at NXT.
Alicia Fox.
But
I
it's
remember that.
But like with Lash, I am glad that she's able to, showcase what she's capable of doing on the main roster, because I heard this is probably like a little test run to see how they would work on the main roster.
Yeah.
So I don't know if anything's like concrete, because they still have status on Tuesday nights. But I do like seeing, her out in the ring every week, showing what she's capable of, because she's definitely very impressive what she does. She definitely is the main highlight out of her group. No disrespect to Jakara Jackson, but Lash Legend is honestly have been the main focus. I mean, she pretty much is the focal point, because when you pay attention to television and you see what eyes they're trying to set on the most, it is Lash at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I just liked seeing, all of these girls just, showcase what they're capable of, especially when it comes to some of them that might not get as much screen time as the other ones, like, Piper Niven, for example. So I am glad that she's able to go out there and show her thing. And I'm also very happy in general that Iyo was able to steal the win, because she was able to hit her moonsault on Bianca to get her out of the ring. And then she was also able to pin Lash to finally get her revenge on Jakara Jackson and Lash, so she can get that little momentum heading into the match, which I knew Watkins had a couple words to say when it comes to the curse of pinning someone and then potentially having that momentum carry you out to the PLE.
Look, we'll talk about that when we get to predictions, but
Yeah.
we'll hit on that.
But
But yeah, like I don't think anybody really looked too bad tonight.
no.
Even those on the outside, like, I mean, you brought up Jakara Jackson, like she did this one, I don't know what it's really called, but like she basically whipped Chelsea Green down, like she ran towards her, kind of almost like a sling blade kind of thing, but like she kind of her body went a little further,
Yeah.
and like Chelsea just like went down, but like just the way that move looked and like the execution, and all that was really good. Jade Cargill also looked really good, like showing her powerhouse and all that.
Or big boot.
Yeah, oh, that was a big boot. That was a very
I do like when she does that.
Boot. Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody really looked that bad, and like we had a couple like doom spots too. One of them being I mean, the one that just pops into my mind where, oh my god, I almost called Piper Niven Dewdrop right there. Oh my god, I want to just, I'll just slap myself later for that. But Piper had Iyo up on her shoulders, going up for like a top rope Samoan drop, and she still hits it. However, Bianca got in there and hit a power bomb on her, so that kind of took her out too. But yeah, I mean, again, it was a fun match, and we'll probably see some more team ups with like heels and baby faces throughout tomorrow's match too, like we got tonight. I did notice too that this was actually kind of a fun moment. This was during the picture in picture where you have Lash Legend and Piper Niven. They had like just taken out Bianca, and they're both kind of taunting her by doing like her dance and all that. I don't know. It's just I love shit like that where it's just like, oh, look at us, we're cocky heels and all that shit. So
I do hope in the near future, once Bianca's done with this whole tag title situation, I am hoping that she does get like some eyes put on her again, because I kind of do miss seeing her in the main title picture. Not necessarily saying that she needs to win a title or anything, but I kind of do miss seeing her in that spot again.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know I've kind of gone on record saying, hey, well, I don't know if I've said it in here. I know I said it in my one group chat. I had been getting kind of tired of Bianca for a bit.
No, I was too.
Yeah. So I'm actually kind of glad like some heat kind of died down on her being in this tag division and all that. So I'm at least grateful for that part, because I'm kind of in the same boat as you. I'm ready for her to kind of start diving into something a little more deeper, especially in the regime we have now compared to what she did have. Like I think her being able to do something more substantial is gonna just do wonders for her.
Oh yeah.
Even more so than now. But yeah, so like, well, speaking of wonders, I think we can move on to our next match that has a bit of caveat to it. We had a tag team match, another like women's tag team match. So again, we're getting our women's showcase tonight. Bayley and Naomi took on Candice LeRae and Indi Hartwell. And I guess maybe the elephant in the room here. This was Indi's last televised WWE match.
Yeah.
Because we found out before SmackDown that her and a few others.
Oh, you want to touch on that now or later?
I mean, we can touch on like everybody later on.
All right, yeah.
But
right.
I do at least want to mention, at least with Indi.
Yeah.
You know, go ahead. She was part of a group that were released before SmackDown went on the air, which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll touch more on that, I think, later on. So we had their match here, and kind of the biggest thing with like all these tag matches tonight were the heel teams just attacking the face teams either before or right after the bell rang. So I mean, this one was no different. Where the bell rang, Candice and Indi both went after Bayley and Naomi, and I mean, Bayley was basically on her own the whole match until like after the commercial break. But I think this match was fine. I mean, rough at a couple spots, but really not anything that was really god awful that I'm gonna sit here and be like, oh, this was bad. It's like it didn't do too much for me. Especially with Candice losing again.
Yeah.
2 weeks in a row now.
Yeah, I don't really have like that many thoughts on this match, if I'm being 100% honest. Like, I am kind of a little disappointed with this whole Candice thing, because the way that things were being set up like 2 weeks ago when it came to Candice pinning Bayley, I thought they were going to use that to propel her to the position that she definitely deserves to be in. But for these past 2 weeks, she lost a match. She didn't get pinned tonight, I believe. Did she? Or
no, I think she did. Yeah,
she did.
Because
last week
like,
she did too, didn't she?
Yeah.
Oh, see, that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing. I'm not really a big fan of that, because one of the things that WWE needs to do, and this is going to be an ongoing thing, and this doesn't just go for the ladies, it also goes for the men as well. They need to really start building like more stars. Not saying they don't have any stars already, but they really need to start building more stars that they could put under their wing and be like, okay, you know, we have these people lined up just in case we need them. But when Candice pinned Bayley, I really thought it was going to go somewhere. And she got pinned like these past 2 weeks. And I'm not really a big fan of that, because I really wanted to see this take off. I mean, once we dive into this conversation later, that's definitely making me question what Candice's status is going to be beyond that point. But like I said, we'll touch on that later. But I mean, I honestly don't really think this really like breathed any life to like any sort of story. It kind of felt like it was just filler for SmackDown, just to throw a match together, not taking anything away from the ladies, because again, when we are giving constructive criticism, it's mainly directed towards the creative, not the talent, because the creative is what has the talent go out there and do this and that. So it's mainly us talking to creative when we do this. But it just honestly felt like it was just thrown in there, so it didn't really do anything to me. It was just one of those matches where you could easily skip through and not really miss out on anything, if I'm being 100% honest. I mean, the main talking point definitely is, okay, what's going on with Candice beyond this point? But like I said, we'll discuss that later. But I don't know. I don't have too much to say about this, really. I mean, I feel like if I did, I would just be making up things just to have a conversation on it, and I
Exactly.
really don't want to do that.
Because like that's the thing. It's like this was really just to kind of end the build that they had from
Yeah.
last week with Indy interfering and all that. And I guess the only other thing I want to point out though, thank you Corey Graves, because Corey Graves has been on it
Oh
with
yeah, I
commentary.
know what you're talking about
But
now.
I'm so glad he pointed this out because so leading to the end of the match, um, Naomi does a blind tag to Bayley, and Bayley ends up getting hit by double team move, which leads into Candice's finisher and all that. And Indy's gone, by the way. She's out of the match right now. So Candice goes for the cover, but the ref doesn't cover Bayley. Instead, she just says like, "Hey, you can't be doing that. She's the illegal person." And then Naomi comes in for a review and wins. Corey pointed out that since Naomi was the legal fighter,
Yeah.
why did the ref not count her out or like try to start counting her out? Like there were there were some interesting referee calls and especially in this match. And I'm glad Corey pointed that out because it's like, wait, yeah, why didn't she like try to get Naomi to come in? She was just watching them beat up Bayley the whole
Yeah, that's the
time.
thing.
Like
There was a poor call on the ref.
yeah. So I mean maybe that could lead into a story with it. They could always lead into that, next week. I mean they're going to have to with, what transpired with Indy and all that, but I don't know. I think we'll touch more on that here later
Yeah.
on when we talk about that
Yeah.
situation. So we'll move right along to another match that was set up. This one was set up apparently online on the
I
SmackDown
didn't.
Lowdown.
I didn't even know.
I didn't either. So again, thank you, Corey, for letting me know and know exactly why this match was a thing. We had the Street Profits taking on Pretty Deadly. Again, Pretty Deadly starting the match off by blindsiding Street Profits and taking them on. Again, not too much to go off of this match. Like this felt very house showy,
Filler.
especially the part where Pretty Deadly were. This did get a chuckle from me. They were blocking Montez Ford from making the hot tag, and then I want to say Ford was supposed to land on his feet,
Oh.
but he didn't and kind of like landed back, but he was still able to get to Dawkins and get the hot tag and all that. Um, there was that. Oh, there was another moment too. Like there was this cool double team maneuver where Pretty Deadly. I think they did it to Montez Ford,
Mm-hmm.
where like one of them, and I always get their names wrong, so bear with me, everybody. One of them was in the corner, like facing the corner, and he had his back down, and then the other like jumped on his back and kind of like almost springboarded himself and did a code breaker on one of the Street Profits. I thought that looked really cool, and cool idea concept as well. We also had BFAB get involved physically, which okay, she was in ring gear, so I don't know if she had like a match, like if they recorded Speed earlier or main
Yeah, I don't
event
know.
earlier, but like she was in her gear and she did something. Finally, you do something as a manager valet. Uh, but I mean, Street Profits win. Kudos to Corey Graves again on commentary, trying to give weight to this, being like, oh, there's new tag team champions. We got to build the tag team division. Who's going to be number one contenders? Herpaderpaderpader. So I at least applaud you for trying to put some stakes in there. Not anything to really, cut and eat like a 4-pound steak or anything, but I I will applaud trying.
Yeah.
Um, but Drop, I'm gonna bring it off to you. What do you think of this match overall?
I mean, it was a match. I mean, that's honestly all I can
Yeah.
really say. It didn't really do anything to me. You said this was a contenders match. Is that what you said?
No, so Corey on commentary, he tried to tried to be like, oh, this match now has very high stakes because we have new tag team champions
Oh,
now.
okay.
So like the number one contendership's
Yeah.
basically up for grabs right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I said, this was just a match, to be honest. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't really have any thoughts on this because, like I said earlier, there's a lot of matches that you could easily just go through, and I mean, honestly, wouldn't
Mhm.
really affect the show at all whatsoever, which, is kind of like a condom theme, common theme that tends to happen every so often when it comes to shows like this.
Mhm.
You get a match, doesn't really add anything, and if it is, it's like very
Yeah.
minimal, doesn't really mean that much, and that's kind of how this was. The only thing I would
Mhm.
really want to talk about, since this does relate to one of the competitors within this match itself, is Montez Ford, because Montez
Mm.
Ford did speak on something this week, which is why I wanted to bring it up to at
Oh
least
yeah.
have some sort of talking point for this. And he
Mhm.
did mention how, he's happy doing what he does because he's a team player at the end of the day. I'm not entirely sure if I'm
Mhm.
wording that right or not. If I am, if I'm not, let me know. But I do remember him saying that he's also frustrated at the same time when it comes to
Mhm.
where he's at, which I can understand because when it came to
Yeah.
that Elimination Chamber match that he had last year for United States title, I believe it was last year. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
You had him show like a pretty awesome performance, especially when he did that little Spider-Man move on top of the Elimination Chamber, just fell on all the
Oh, that
competitors.
was great.
But a lot of people have been very vocal in the community for quite some time now. This isn't like a recent thing, but a lot of people have been vocal on this for quite some time when it comes to Montez Ford actually breaking out as a single star, because he knows that he has the potential to do it. He knows that he could probably go
Mhm.
places with it because he's very talented in the ring. And that's why a lot of people are very high on him to eventually, break out and do his own thing. You don't necessarily have to break up him and the Street Profits, but you could easily have him have a little solo run. If you want Dawkins to do it himself, I mean, hey, all to him. But a lot of people really want to see um Montez Ford break out, and I feel like he really wants to do that. He doesn't want to be stuck into
Mhm.
strictly just tag team wrestling. Like, he actually wants to bet on himself and actually do something because he believes that he can go places with this, like I mentioned.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm honestly hoping happens. And if that is a built-in story, I wouldn't mind them going down that sort of direction, because at least it gives us
Mhm.
something to talk about throughout the week, and it also gives something to the fans to be invested in, to see exactly like, okay, we're actually doing something with Montez Ford right now that's actually very meaningful to
Yeah.
his character. It can actually benefit him in the long run, which also falls into the category that I mentioned earlier with Candice when it comes to building new stars. So I wanted to bring it up mainly, and also just to hear your own initial thoughts on that, just to give us a
Mhm.
talking point on that, because I don't really want to just
Yeah.
gloss over the Street Profits. I mean, I'm not super high and Pretty Deadly. Not saying they're not
Mhm.
entertaining every once in a while, but especially when it comes to Street Profits, I know how great they are. I know the kind of matches that they can put on. And I just wanted to throw it in there at Montez Ford just to give us a little talking point when it comes to exactly like what sort of direction they're going to go down, because they haven't been really
Mhm.
successful when it comes to reclaiming those titles. So it's like, what could we really do now? Because it seems like what they're doing now is they're trying to build something with the with the Motor City Machine Guns and Austin Theory and
Yeah.
Grayson Waller, which I'll be honest, I do not care to see that. I'll give more thoughts on that next
No.
Friday. I'm kind of like at the point where you mentioned earlier with Bianca, where it's like kind of got tired of seeing it after a while. That's how I am with like
Yeah.
Grayson Waller and Austin Theory. I just don't care to see it. It's just something I don't really care to see, especially for a few first
Mhm.
feud like that. Like, no, no, thank you. But what is
Yeah.
your thoughts on the whole Montez Ford thing that came out this week?
So I mean, I kind of agree. I first of all, I would like for the Street Profits not to break up.
Oh no, I
They're
don't.
kind of
Yeah,
on.
yeah, they don't need to break up.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't need to break up. You can still have a tag team and have them do singles runs. You can still do that. I mean, New Day did that for a bit, and even though they're going through a storyline right now where they could be breaking up, keep the New Day together. Anyways, keep the Street Profits together. They can still be friends, still be a unit while they do single stuff. But yeah, I mean, I kind of agree because like it's kind of the thing that we were starting to see with Samantha for like Samantha Irvine for a bit because it's like she was this awesome ring announcer, like best in the business, I would almost argue. And she then just left because we find out that, oh, she really didn't like re-announcing. Like, she thought that was just her step in and that she would be able to branch out later on. Now, unfortunately, she was too good at re-announcing, and that's why they kept her there. And so Montez Ford, I feel like, is kind of dealing with the same thing right now because it's like, okay, I've done a lot with these tag team stuff and I enjoy it. However, I want a little bit more because we all want a little bit more. We all want like a better paycheck. We always want to just do more than what we're doing at that point of time. And yeah, I agree with him. I want him to succeed. I want him to get what he wants and be able to do well in his life. And part of that includes just going on a singles run for a bit. So yeah, I welcome it.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Oh
something
man,
I definitely want to see.
yeah,
I-
but yeah. Oh, I thought you had more with that.
oh no, that's it.
So
I just wanted to bring up something
yep,
so we're not just
no, I
glossing
get
over
that.
this.
Well, like that's the thing, because like they were just like, oh yeah, this was set up from the SmackDown lowdown. I'm like, wait, that's an actual show that
Yeah, I mean,
like I
yeah,
completely forgot about that. You know?
yeah, and I'll be 100% honest. If it's not shown on television, people are not gonna care.
Hmm.
They just focus
Yeah.
solely on the shows. Whatever was showcased within that show itself is what they tune in to see next week. You have like very
The
minimal
most.
audience that will actually pay attention to that.
Mhm. The most anybody paid attention to with stuff outside of the main product was the bump,
Yeah,
and that was barely, you
yeah,
know. But I mean, SmackDown going home, the go home show,
yeah,
it was fine. It was like again a lot of pre-tape segments, all that stuff. But like it's, I mean, it's set up for tomorrow night or tomorrow afternoon, I guess.
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the biggest highlight was, I mean, the Bloodline stuff. I think that was what really kind of saved the show because everything else was just bare bones at best.
Pretty
And I
much.
mean, as you heard, like especially near the end of the SmackDown show, like you guys kind of heard, it was kind of a struggle for us to even talk about anything without being like, yeah, it was good. Like, you know, we tried to give more substance to it, a lot more than they had tonight with some things. But there were some good stuff here. But Job, what'd you think of the night overall?
Um, I mean, I thought I'll be honest, it was a boring show. Like,
Yeah.
there really wasn't that much for me to really sink my teeth into. I mean, definitely with it being taped,
Mhm.
I understand why it's being taped because they obviously have priorities that they need to focus on. So it makes sense
Yeah.
to get things out of the way. I mean, I do the same thing. I don't want to wake up early in the morning on Monday knowing how I have 5 videos to post throughout the week. I actually record them over the weekends to make sure, I have some room to breathe. So I understand why they record shows and put them out because they want to make sure that they're sticking to their regular routine when it comes to that sort of thing. But again, it was a
Mhm.
boring show, not really much to really like lean into. The only part that really saved it for to me is whatever happened with the bloodline and also the Cody stuff, like what's going on, the ongoing story of Kevin Owens. Really, I mean, that's honestly
Mhm.
all I really cared for when it came to this sort of thing. Obviously, I shared my thoughts on Tiffany and all of that, but that's just its own separate thing. If I'm talking about stuff that really mattered, I mean, basically what I said, that's mainly what caught my interest about this entire show. So,
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, we've kind of danced around this topic a lot tonight. So
yeah,
let's dive into
we actually break
this
out of our
bit of
shells now and actually talk.
yeah. Yeah, exactly. Um so we had some news earlier come
Yeah,
out that
yeah,
some superstars were released from their contracts. Some of them have 90 days till they can get take a
yep,
booking. Some of them I don't know if they do or not, but the top three names that came out of this, and I don't recall if anybody else was named for all this.
No, it's just three.
Baron Corbin, Tegan Knox, and Indy Hartwell were all released by WWE, so they're no longer under contract. We know that we know that Tegan has her 90-day non-compete. I'm assuming Indy and Baron do, because that's usually how it goes with
Yeah.
all this, unless their contract does run out. But this sucks. I think this sucks. This sucks mainly for Corbin, because he had a really good run in NXT just from a year ago, and like,
yeah, that's a lot.
when you
That's
hear
something
the
that a lot of people
story,
are bringing up too, because he definitely started kicking things into gear again when he was in NXT, working with the talent there.
And especially when like you go back and hear the story, like, because he was about to quit, if I remember correctly, and then they moved him to NXT, and then they put him with Braun Breaker and all that, and he almost kind of had a career renaissance in a way, being in NXT like that.
Yeah.
So he's one I really feel for with this, because like he was putting in some good work, and I mean, yeah, he was thrown together in a tag team with Apollo, but there was still something there.
Yeah.
You know, they were at least trying to build something. It's just they never put him on TV.
Yeah, and that chemistry that he had at Braun Breaker was probably the best thing that ever happened to him when he was down there. They even won tag team gold together, which was great to see. And even Braun Breaker was putting over Baron Corbin too.
And like, when you look at the shit that he had to get through, I mean, literally, like the dog food stuff with Roman, there's one of them. The whole Constable Corbin stuff is the other thing. Losing to John Cena, losing his briefcase during the Jinder Mahal run. Like, we had brought up Jinder Mahal like earlier and all that. It's like,
he put himself through a lot of shit.
yeah, like the company itself, like there was a time where the company blamed Corbin for the way Raw was being run and booked and all that. Like they threw him under the bus at that segment. Like I'm sure you remember that. It's where like Vince, Stephanie, Shane, and Triple H were all out there, and they were just like, "Oh, you, the fans, you run the shows," is all that. And it's just like, no, we don't. We know we don't, because you guys don't listen to us. Like, especially you, old man. How many times do we have to teach you this lesson?
Yeah, no, that era back then was absolutely awful. That's why I was talking to Watkins earlier. If this podcast existed all these years ago, I mean, our platform probably would have been a lot bigger than it is now, considering the kinds of shit that we would say around that. Is the way that you see me and Watkins now, it wouldn't be how it was back in like 2017, 2018, 2019. Like, I got to give props for JD to actually put himself through that, because at the end of the day, and he said it perfectly well when I was watching one of his old streams, if you're really passionate about something, you stick with it. And obviously you call it out on its bullshit, but you also want to see if there's some chance down the line that it actually does take off again and actually does become successful. So when it comes to the people, especially if you're really passionate about something, like he brought up a good example when it came to like a baseball team that he's really high on, and then he saw their struggles, and then he eventually saw how they grew from that, and that went down a different direction. I mean, we probably would still be talking about the shows and go down the exact same direction, just because of, you know, how passionate we are about wrestling, but you wouldn't be seeing me and Watkins saying like nice things about certain things. You probably wouldn't see Vash the way he is. I know for a damn fact you wouldn't see Mr. Optimistic Vash. He probably would not be optimistic with those shows. I'll just say that. But yeah, like just bringing that up in general, I mean, Baron Corbin was like a big part of that, with a lot of that stuff going on. He had a lot of potential. He just wasn't utilized well, and that's the thing, because there's a lot of people that's on that roster that fall under the radar, that don't get used that well. And Baron Corbin was the person who literally did anything. He tried the best to make it work, and you know, that's definitely sucks to see him go. Say that.
And like, He's also the guy that retired Kurt Angle.
Yeah.
Let's just let that simmer for a bit in y'all's souls, especially for those of us me that have Kurt Angle as their number one all-time Mount Rushmore of professional wrestling. Like to have somebody at that time be Baron Corbin, to be Kurt Angle's last match, and to beat him at WrestleMania, like didn't sit well with me then.
No.
Still kind of doesn't sit well with me now, but
Yeah.
that's besides the point. But I do. Where do you think Baron Corbin would end up after his 90 days? Where do you see him going?
See, I'm not 100% sure because I don't know if there's still a passion for wrestling, because I know he's really into cooking. So I don't know if he would venture down that and possibly just sit with that, because he probably has more than enough money to just, be fine with whatever he's doing for the rest of his life. But if he really wants to venture out there and just really tap into where he wants to truly be and actually showcase his true potential, I mean, besides I'm gonna say food for the time being, but if you want to talk about professional wrestling, which I mean, food can definitely be like a side thing. I guess just sticking to professional wrestling. I don't know. I mean, the only options really is like AEW or TNA. I think there's other people I can see more in TNA. Like definitely the other two, I can definitely see. I don't know really.
I'm kind of in the same boat with you. I don't know if the passion's gonna be there still, just because again, the stories we were hearing just from a year ago of him and what he was going through mentally and all that. So yeah, he could stick with like the grilling, cooking thing.
Yeah.
If he were to go back into the ring, I feel like he would fit better with TNA.
Yeah.
Just because of how that company is.
Definitely
Compared to
thriving more.
AEW.
Yeah, it's definitely thriving a lot better, especially with the partnerships definitely happening, helping it.
Oh yeah. Yep. But with the other two, like you mentioned, so Tegan Knox, she's an interesting case when you kind of look at it, because like she had a lot of start-stop in her time with WWE, whether it was due to injury or just the company not really knowing what to do with her.
Yeah.
I feel like, which on one hand it's not really much of a knock on her, I guess.
Yeah.
Because her character was really nothing. Like she didn't really have much of a character in WWE. Maybe she had a little bit more in NXT during her time there, but she didn't really move the needle, as some of them like to say. Like even when she was on screen, like I mean, she was good. She was a solid talent in there, but like she wasn't really too much of anything, and that's why like I feel like with their stop-start, I mean, I think that was part of it. It's just like she didn't really have much to do, work on, or really much of a character to really make me give a shit about her, which sucks because, I do want to care about it. But I think the other thing mainly too, I think, is the injury thing, because it seemed like every time she made some sort of leeway, she would get injured and she'd be on the shelf for a bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like when it comes to her, like one thing I can appreciate what Becky did is when Becky won the NXT championship, she didn't just have it just to have an accolade where she could have it under her resume and stuff like that, which kind of surprised she didn't really have it in her original time when she was down there, because the rest of them did. I mean, Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha did, so I'm kind of surprised Becky never did. But I do appreciate that when Becky had it, she actually used that title to give opportunities to girls that never really had that time to shine. I mean, Xia Li was one. She gave an opportunity to her. Indi Hartwell was one, which we'll dive into her next. She gave her an opportunity. And then Tegan Knox, she also gave her an opportunity as well to showcase her strength. And that's something I really appreciated that Becky was doing, because a lot of people say that Becky doesn't do anything for the company. They think it's all about her. I think that's complete bullshit. She definitely
Yeah,
gives a
that
lot to
is
the company,
complete bullshit.
and she definitely wanted to showcase these women to show us, the future. Like, these are going to be the people that are going to be here when I'm gone. And that's the reason why I brought up Becky, because Tegan falls in that into that situation, like I
Mhm.
mentioned, because a lot of people do believe that Tegan was like untapped potential, where she had that potential where she could have went somewhere if they actually put more focus on her. And what you mentioned before
Mhm.
about NXT, like a lot of the spotlight really was on NXT, because if you compare other superstars that we have on the main roster to how they were on NXT, it's completely different. So
Mhm.
people probably really wanted to see that Tegan Nox on the main roster, putting on good matches, having a lot of people, get excited when she's out there and everything. But it was just untapped potential, and she seemed pretty confident in herself with the tweet that she put out,
Mhm.
which let me see. I'll actually bring that up, because
Yeah.
she doesn't seem like, obviously I would assume, it obviously sucks, getting released and everything. But judging on like her tweet that she says some things are just out of your control and you can only do it as much as you can. Let's
Mhm.
clear one thing up though. I'm ready. I've been ready. Just have to show people what they've missed. So at least she's confident that she knows she can go somewhere. So I mean, we'll see what happened to her. I mean,
Yeah.
judging on what promotion she can go into, I don't want to say TNA to everything. I wouldn't be surprised if they tried doing
But
something with her and Jamie Hayter and AEW. You never
yeah.
know if they might want to venture down that route if they truly want to. But we'll just have to wait and see what she does. I mean, I guess one of the best things a lot of these guys been doing and gals
Mhm.
is working the independent scene and then building
Yeah.
themselves up from there, which is what Ali's been
Yep.
doing, which is what Dijak has been doing. So I wasn't surprised to see her on the indies for a little bit until she eventually finds her footing of where she wants to go.
Mhm.
The next one
Yeah.
is the one I
The
was
next one
the
has some
most
shit.
yeah,
Yeah.
the next one I was the most shocked about, because they never really gave Indy a chance to really do anything. Like, they were teasing the way forming
No.
back together. They didn't really form back together
Yeah.
like how they were in NXT, and she was paired up with Candice, obviously for reasons because of history. But that was the one that really caught me off guard, because I'm like, I can understand, not saying it in a bad way, when it came to Baron and Tegan getting released because they weren't really using them. But
Mhm.
with Tegan Knox, they never really gave her a chance. And I wasn't that big of a fan when she got called up to the main roster, because I always found it weird when she got called up to the main roster last year when she was NXT Women's Champion. And she obviously had to vacate that title because she had injury, but I never understood why they called her up when she was champion. That didn't really make any sense to
Yeah.
me. That's kind of why I wish they kept the same system where it's like champions are exclusive to their brands and they don't have to move up or anything. But it really felt like they
Mhm.
just threw Indy in there, kind of like how they did with the other girl. I forgot her name, that they recently called up from NXT and they're not doing anything with her. Um,
Oh, Kiana James, is it?
yeah, it's like
Or
it's just weird to me how
yeah.
like they never had a direction of where they wanted to put them,
Mhm.
and that's kind of how it was of Indy. There were like, can you really recall like any significant moment outside of Becky giving her some shine that she really stood out and actually was like meaningful in any way? I can't really think of anything.
I can't either, except for like again, most of the NXT run.
Yeah,
I mean, and most of that even just came from the Dexter Loomis stuff.
yeah,
But it's funny. It's funny you brought up the whole like, oh, this kind of felt like it came out of nowhere and blindsided us as fans and all that. There's a possibility it might have also blindsided Indy, because she had a tweet. She
yeah.
tweeted out,
Oh,
quoting Sean Ross Sapp from Fightful, saying, "Wait, what?"
oh,
And
well, I think she
then
was. I
like
think she was trolling.
Okay.
Because he did follow up on that, and he says that
Mhm.
the stuff that he was reporting, because Sean always does a great job with the stuff that he does.
Yeah.
But it's like he did mention before that he obviously wasn't going to report news on something that the talent themselves didn't know of ahead of time.
Okay.
I just know that response is a
Okay.
common theme, because if you went on Twitter and you saw a lot of quote tweets, a lot of people were saying, "Wait, what?" So I feel like she was playing
Mhm.
off of that, and she tends to troll a lot on
Okay.
Twitter. So
Okay. All
I,
right, good, because like we have heard instances in the past
yeah,
of talent not knowing that they were let go until they found out on social media. So I was about to come on here and be like, I hope that's not the
yeah,
case.
hopefully
So
not.
I'm glad that's not the case.
Yeah,
Yeah, hopefully it's still not the case,
yeah, hopefully not.
but because that would suck.
Oh yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat. It's just like Indy never really got much of a chance on the main roster.
Mm-mm.
Um, and I mean, she was just finally kind of doing something more with Candice lately, but
Especially with
again,
promoting that
that
speed title with those videos.
dude, she'd been doing more for the Speed Championship than WWE ever was doing, and
Yeah,
especially with the women's side. Like
yeah.
that stuff was good. That it was funny,
Which
you know.
probably lets another elephant out of the room now, because I was trying to talk about it earlier
Hmm.
when we were talking about Candice, but now I'm
Yeah.
really curious to see what Candice is going to be doing, because now Candice is officially on her own.
Hmm.
So now I'm really wondering, like, when this push, if it's still a thing. I don't, to me right now, I don't know if I was just like put your hand in the jar and you find the golden coin and then you end up losing it the next day. Um,
Yeah.
it really makes me question like Candace's direction. Like I don't think they're gonna bury her or anything. I'm not saying that, but it's like it really makes me curious to see what Candace is going to be doing on her own, because now she's a solo act without her partner in crime. So
Hmm.
how you really gonna follow up with that? Like you definitely have to do something with her now.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Like
see you feeding Candace to the sharks now just because Indy left.
yeah, and you can't just relegate her to like the whole Speed thing because
No,
I mean, for all 12 people that watch that on a weekly basis, there's nothing to really gain from that except
no.
for a title that's
She has a lot of
online, which,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I don't know.
yeah.
Like that's what I'm like really curious about. Like not saying that I'm not like
Hmm.
curious about the whole like indie thing, because that definitely caught me off guard when I saw her name pop up. But like definitely Candace.
Yeah,
Like I don't know what where Candace is going.
yeah. And well, hopefully it's staying in the company. Like,
Oh, I hope so.
if if
Or
they
how
released her, that's going to be some
that's yeah.
questions right there. And
Husband won't
I
be too
also
happy
do want
for
to,
that.
yeah, oh my gosh. Um, I do also want to bring up too, because like, we don't get too many releases anymore,
Yeah.
especially compared to like again, like kind of like what Drop was saying earlier, where it's just like if we had been doing this show like back in like 2019 and we had like a bunch of these releases, oh, that would have been like a whole 40-minute bitch fest about it. Because back then, when they would release talent like in these big bulks, it was
They're pretty
it was
big
kind of
names.
bad.
Pretty big names
Yeah,
too.
they were huge names. Like I'll never forget when they freaking released Braun Strowman that time. Like I saw his name on there. I'm like, that's stupid. Why did you release Braun Strowman? He's one of your biggest attractions, but okay, neat, fantastic. Um, but I do at least want to throw out one other thing with all this. Triple H is not to blame for this.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
He's he's more of the day-to-day guy, more of like I don't want to say small picture, but like he's the one that's running the show. He's not the one that's really like, okay, we need to just get rid of this person.
Yeah, he's not
That
signing
comes
talent
more
either.
of exactly. Like that's more on the side of like the corporate side of things, and
Yeah.
those are mainly the people that are looking at it from a money standpoint.
Yeah,
Like,
from
okay,
TKO.
yeah, oh, especially TKO. Like I want to know how much TKO has like control wise, and whether it's creativity or like with the talent and all that. I want to know how much input they have on that, because again, there's a lot of things I question, like tag teams and all that stuff. But when it comes to like the releases, again, this isn't really a Triple H decision. I mean, it could be partially his, but like I feel like a lot of these people he signs, he wants to actually use and do something with, but I feel like something's still holding him back, and I don't know what.
Mm-hmm.
And for some, I mean, the obvious, like, immediate thing you want to lean towards is Vince. Because you want to, like, I'm sure people want to be like, oh, well, Vince could still be around. It's just like, well, we have had multiple reports saying that he's not, even with, like, Skype things and all that. But, like, I'm wondering, even with him still, like, this might sound morbid too, but, like, maybe even with him just still being alive in this day and age, like, could that have even its own influence with everything? Like,
Who, Vince?
yeah,
Like, I blacked out for a second, but yeah.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's all good. Like,
No, I agree.
I know he's not. Yeah, like it's just the fear of like having family dinner on Sunday night, and Vince is just like throwing jabs, like, "Oh, you sure did something with that Gunther guy, or I would have had him, call Lashley a bad name and all that." Like, just like, dude, you can't really do that. You shouldn't do that. But whatever.
Yeah.
That's besides the point. I don't know. It feels like there's something holding back the main roster product.
Yeah.
But I can't pinpoint what it is, because you go to NXT, and NXT is thriving. They are putting on stories that are really engaging. Yeah. The matches are phenomenal that are happening. Like a few matches that I've seen could be match of the year contenders in their own right.
Yeah, Fraxium's
so
good
it's
one
like
that brought up their tag division. Definitely do need to work on the men's department when it comes to their stars there. Women's all set, but I do agree with the men over there to work on that. But,
I mean, that's the thing. I know it's a special show, but you got Bubba Ray Dudley in the main event scene. It's just like, wait, he's main event caliber in WWE? I mean, I know he was in TNA, but really? But that I think that's just for the special show we're getting next week. I don't know. I don't know if I have really much more to say about these releases. Again, like, we don't get them too often, and when we do, it's usually just like a couple people or like a small handful. So I mean, I guess it just goes to show that people want to stay in WWE, and WWE want to keep some talent.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mainly just wanted to bring this up because we normally just focus solely on SmackDown, but it's such a big topic of discussion, and a lot of people are talking about it. I didn't want to leave it out of tonight's show because we don't do Grappling of the Week on here anymore. That's going to be its own separate thing. So Grappling of the Week was the thing. We would have saved this as a topic of actually, we probably wouldn't be able to, because we would probably have to wait until the following week to really throw that in there when it comes to all the topics for us to talk about. But I just wanted to throw this in here just because it's a hot topic, and we already covered SmackDown, so we're pretty much just filling up some extra slots here to just give our own little spin on it. So I just feel like it's only right for this episode because of what happened. I mean, God forbid there was an even bigger name being put out there. God. I mean, me and Watkins aren't gonna act like, let's say hypothetically, I'm not wishing this into existence. Trust me. But oh my God, it hates me saying it, but look, imagine what is said on your hat right now was the name that got released. You think me and you were gonna run this show and not say anything? Oh fuck no. We'd have. That'd be a big rant.
Well,
but
especially with Indi even being on the show tonight, like this topic is going to get brought up eventually,
Yeah, you also saw how they were talking about her accolades and saying some things about her.
I hated that.
Yeah,
I hated that.
It probably wasn't their fault because it was like last week, but just
Mhm.
because of the recent news, it's like fuck.
Yeah, like, I'm sitting there I even had a tweet about it that I tweeted out. I was just like, really appreciate, commentary putting over indie like this today of all days. Like, good job on you, commentary team. Thank you. Proud of you. Oh, man. But all right. Well, we're gonna move on then with our little topics of
Yeah,
discussion
our
because
main event.
we just got one last final segment before we head out of here, folks. Because we got a PLE tomorrow, we've got to do some wonderful, awesome, very fun
Yeah,
predictions
in
for
12
all of
hours
those. So,
actually.
oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah, exactly almost 12 hours. Yeah. So we're going to run down the card real quick. We're going to give our thoughts on some of these matches, whether they're just who we think's going to win or if there's a little bit more to kind of go into with it and all that. So we're
Yeah.
going to start here with our women's tag team titles. They're going to be put on the line in a fatal four-way match. Four different teams. We got Bianca and Jade. We got Sky Pirates. We got Jakara Jackson, Lash Legend, and we got Piper Niven and Chelsea Green. Drop. Who do you think's coming out with the titles and why?
I'm gonna say Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill only because I feel like they're putting all of these teams together just to give them a proper showcase because they have been doing some good work for
Mm-hmm.
these past couple weeks. And we also seen Bianca and the rest of them compete against these teams and actually were successful towards them. And it's not giving me any feeling that they're gonna lose the tag team titles anytime soon because there's no tension.
Mm-hmm.
There's no tension building between them. The day I notice there's some tension building between them when it comes to the sort of story that they're going to be playing out throughout those weeks of
Yeah.
SmackDown is when I will probably switch my answer when they defend those titles. But I'm just saying Bianca and Jade.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Um, I'm gonna be different because I want to be different. Because yeah, I want to be different. So I think I'm glad you brought up the thing about like the division between the two because I mean everybody's calling it, everybody's expecting it, and I think that's why like it feels so stale right now is because like we're expecting the division or like the seeds to be planted soon,
Yeah,
and I think tomorrow might be part of that. I think
it is the
they
month.
might lose the titles.
It is
Go ahead.
it is the month to start doing it.
Exactly. Yeah, because I mean it's about to end 2024, getting into that Mania season and all that. And Jade and Bianca are a Mania match. At least I think so. Um, but yeah, so like you could have it where like they lose here, and they actually lose. So like not like how it was for Clash of the Castle.
Oh,
No, you actually have,
a
and I'm
clean
gonna
win.
say Bianca. Yeah, like Bianca actually takes the fall here, you know, and they do end up having the rematch with the team that wins, and I'll say the team that wins here in a little bit. Don't
I
worry
already
about that.
know.
Um, but like, look, just because y'all can read me like a book doesn't mean it. Anyways, so I think that could end up leading to it because it's like, okay, Bianca, you lost this match for us, and then like in their rematch, you could still have it to where Bianca is the one that takes the fall and all that. So it's just like there's the just added frustration. Like, why can't you do your job? I'm doing my job. Why can't you finish it off? So you could do stuff there. You could obviously do more nuanced storytelling to get there, but all in all, the team that's going to do it, and the only team I could see actually doing it are the Sky Pirates. I could see Iyo and Kyrie pulling it off because I mean we had it a couple weeks ago where Iyo actually did beat Bianca, and even in their tag match, the Sky Pirates could have had that one if it wasn't for Lash Legend and Jakara Jackson getting in the way. So you already had that tease right there. So like have them go over in the multi-person. Okay, fine. The rematch with it's just like 2-on-2. Having the Sky Pirates going over, like that's something huge. And especially if we're not like doing if we're not having Iyo win the Rumble now, not saying that's a whole definite thing because like people have been speculating that she was gonna do it because I mean she's one of those characters and one of those wrestlers right now where it's just like okay we're building her up for a big year coming up and a lot of that has to do with winning the Rumble, but because of Rhea's injury lately, now people are kind of leaning towards Rhea winning the Rumble, which sucks on one hand, but hey, we got to do what we got to do. So I think having these titles and having a good run with it, like, because that's the thing, we've already seen them go to all three shows now and put in some work. Like, Iyo and Kyrie are able to do that, and especially on the NXT side, like they could do wonders with that NXT side. And guess what? Guess what? People are in NXT. Guess what? 3 people just came onto NXT in the past month. I mean, even if they're just in a thrown together tag team match, even if they're like dealing with all that, or they could just be on the show and doing that, whatever. But that's besides the point. I'm going with the Sky Pirates with this one.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, that would have been the answer I'd wanted, but I'm just thinking from story perspective.
Yeah. Look, I'm a creature of my heart. I am 90% of the time I'm gonna go with my heart because eh, my brain can just shut it. So moving right along with more shutting it down, we're gonna burn it down with Seth Rollins taking on Bronson Reed in a normal match, and I'm just glad it hasn't been called off yet,
Yeah, I didn't want it
especially after
to.
what happened on Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Um,
drop, who do you have and why?
I'm gonna say Bronson Reed only because I feel like he needs this win to really establish himself as like, you know
Mhm.
what? I beat one of your top guys. I'm legit, and I feel like he definitely needs a reward for a lot of the good work that he's been doing. So that's
Mhm.
my answer on that. I mean, it's a pretty easy answer. I think a good majority of the fandom do
Yeah.
agree that he should go over on this.
Yeah. And I mean, I agree with you. Pretty much the same reasons. I do see them having a couple matches, but and I mean, Seth could win the feud overall,
Yeah.
but here right now, I would much rather Bronson Reed win
Yeah.
the match.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. Well, great, great. Moving right along, we have the U.S. title on the line. We have LA Knight taking on Carmelo Hayes and Andrade. Drop who you got and why.
So I will say this one is a little bit unpredictable. I will come out
Hmm.
and say that. Um, I just don't know if they're gonna let the belt off of LA Knight only because he is like very, 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 very like hot in the company when it comes to
Hmm.
people really loving this guy. And me and you are big fans of him too, so I don't necessarily know if they're gonna let off the title, but there's also part of me thinking that there is some sort of possibility because if I'm thinking about it like this, he already beat both of these guys one on one, so there's a part of me thinking does it really make sense if he beat both of them at once? And this could also play out where he could potentially lose the title without even getting pinned. Um,
Yeah.
see, this one's a little bit difficult. I, I'm gonna say Andrade. I want to say Carmelo. I
Ooh.
want to say Carmelo Hayes, but I talked to you about this before. I kind of want to see it as a one-on-one match when
Hmm.
Carmelo eventually gets that title. But I'll say
Yeah.
Andrade. I'll say Andrade.
Okay. So you're on a similar wavelength as me because like, and I think I might have said it on last week's show too. Like with the whole one-on-one thing with Carmelo winning the title there. And I think I had said Andrade last week as well when
Yeah,
we were talking about it too. So like I'm also kind of leaning towards that, but like and we don't get too much hot potato going on with these belts right now. So doing that every once in a while isn't a bad thing. And the US title is a decent enough title to do that with. So like, and plus it adds stakes to the actual Game 7 that we'll get between Andrade and Carmelo, because like now it's for the title.
Yeah, because that last match sucked.
Yeah, no, I don't know what they were doing. Well, I know what they were doing. They were trying to build for this match.
Yeah.
For the old Sally people. And it sucks because like LA Knight's US title run, I mean, it's been fine.
Yeah.
It hasn't really been
like, there's a part of me that's saying I think he's gonna keep it, which deep down there's still a part of me that's saying that, but it just, for some strange reason, I feel like it might go down a different direction.
Yeah, and then like it's no slight to him at all.
Yeah,
it's just this story with Andrade and Carmelo kind of needs just that little extra thing, and even just throwing LA Knight into this match, into the feud, even like it was even weird at the start with it, but I'm actually gonna kind of agree with you with Andrade.
Yeah,
like I think also too, like it gives Andrade something for coming back to the company this year.
Yeah,
I mean, I know it's not any world title, but I mean, the matches that him and Carmelo have been putting on, that alone can help the US title kind of be boosted and all that. Oh man. So I'm hoping for the best with that match. And even with LA Knight, like I was starting to say this a little bit here just a couple minutes ago. Like LA Knight's title run, it's been fine. Like he's put on some decent matches and all that, but like I feel like there's a level that he just hasn't been able to get to yet. And even if he does retain tomorrow, it could lead into something more. I don't know. We'll have to see with that one. I really don't know. I really don't know with that one. So I think I'm going to stick with Andrade with that one. So while Drop is taking care of what he needs to, I'll go on ahead and move to Randy Orton versus Kevin Owens, and I kind of want to say we're going to end up agreeing with each other on this. I'm gonna go ahead and say Kevin Owens is going to win, and I mean I had mentioned the whole pumpkin thing earlier. That's a good pitch that I heard. I'm kind of leaning towards that being part of the finish, maybe. But Kevin, right now, he's being built as the old prize fighter again. He's being built as somebody that can actually really do some harm to you. And they keep harping about Randy Orton's back and like Randy Orton's past and all that. And I think that's gonna play a big part in all of this. Where Kevin, he's gonna aim for that back. He's gonna do that apron powerbomb that he loves to do oh so well when trying to inflict a lot of damage on people. So yeah, I could see KO winning this one, and especially like because like if reports are to be known to be true and all that, Kevin is gonna be challenging Cody at Saturday night's main event for the title, and Kevin kind of needs to win a big match, a big singles match, if you will. And what bigger singles match could there be right now than facing and beating Randy Orton, you know? And especially an Orton that, a babyface Orton. So, like, this isn't an Orton that's like the calm, cool, collected, like, I'm going to mess you up kind of way. Like, this is an Orton that's like holding himself back a bit to the point where, like, he's not doing things like the punk kick, which, I mean, understandable. You don't want to hurt your opponent or anything. Like, you don't want to cause actual damage to them. But he might be driven to that point too with Kevin. Like, Kevin may drag Randy Orton down with him.
Yeah, I just had to take a little intermission.
No, you're fine. You're good. I had just moved on to Randy Orton and Kevin Owens, and I was just kind of going on a spiel about Kevin Owens like whipping Randy Orton and that kind of bringing him to a new heights, trying to like push him towards, like, if reports are supposed to be, believed, he's going to be challenging Cody at Saturday night's main event. So
yeah.
kind of have to give him a big win like that against Randy and all that.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree too, because I feel like Randy's like really confident right now that he can get the job done. Especially the way that he was talking to Cody tonight, that only tells me that maybe things aren't really gonna be in his favor. And also, if you're really pushing Kevin Owens with this new character arc that he's currently going down, I feel like it only makes sense, especially with how Triple H was warning him. Because like even with that, it's kind of like knowing Randy being put in these situations, you really shouldn't worry because he's the kind of guy that can really fight through these kind of things. But knowing how this is an unhinged Kevin Owens and he's just going off and doing whatever the fuck he wants, I mean, it only makes the most sense for him to really show how much damage he's going to put on to Randy Orton. So I'm gonna go with Kevin Owens here.
Coolio. All right, moving on with our Bloodline Civil War. We got the OG Bloodline taking on Temu Bloodline. Drop who you got and why.
I'm going to say probably the Temu Bloodline, or just Solo's Bloodline, just so it's easy for me to say. But I mean, mainly because there's no point of the War Games match if the OG Bloodline wins. I mean, you beat the group in this match itself. It's like, okay, what's the point of having the War Games match if you already have a W over this group? And obviously this is going to show that it's going to take more than just the three of us to take these guys down, which is when Sami Zayn enters it, and you got to build a story of getting him back and everything. So I'm saying a Solo's Bloodline easily. Yeah.
And I'm in the same boat as you. Same reasons. Like, why even have the War Games match if the face team ends up winning? Because I mean, that's the thing. Once the face team wins, Jay's gonna be gone. He's gonna go back to Raw and try to win his IC title back. Roman is gonna grab that Ulafala and be like, "I'm tribal chief, herp, and Jimmy's just gonna be Jimmy." So like, we kind of need to have a little bit more going into War Games. So yeah, I'm seeing the Temu Bloodline taking the win over this.
Yep.
All right. Well, time now to talk about our lovely, awesome new Crown Jewel championships that are on the line this year for the first time ever. We're going to be making history this weekend, folks. Let's start with our women's version of the title. We've got Liv Morgan taking on Nia Jax. Who you got and why for this one?
I'm going to say Liv Morgan, and I have like a couple reasons for this. The first reason is I can't really see back-to-back winners when it comes to the Saudi pay-per-view that we had earlier in the year, King and Queen of the Ring, because we had Gunther and Nia win that, and Summer wasn't, and SummerSlam wasn't in a Saudi environment, but we also had Nia and Gunther win that. So it's like eventually that pairing needs to lose. And judging on how Nia had momentum to close off the show tonight when it came to her and Liv, it just makes me feel like things are gonna fall in Liv's favor. And obviously we know Rhea isn't gonna get involved, so nobody's gonna be taking any part in that, considering that she's out, and she definitely needs to sell what happened on Tuesday. She can't just come back on Saturday with all those reports coming out and just completely forget about everything that happened. So I'm gonna say Liv. Is there a chance Nia could win? Sure, but you also got to factor in, well, if Rhea's not going to be there now and things have changed, you also got to consider Tiffany Stratton being a factor into this as well, because she did say there is a chance where she could potentially cash in her Money in the Bank contract, and it could be one of those things where maybe she goes for it, maybe she purposely costs Nia just to get under her skin. you never really know. Maybe that's when we start really adding more fuel to the fire. Do I think Tiffany could cash in tomorrow? Sure, but I'm not 100% confident in that, only because I don't know if they want that sort of reaction where they are, if you get what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah, no, I get that.
So that's
I'm kind of in the same boat with you on that one. Like I would, me personally, I would rather her not cash in tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping she doesn't.
Yeah, I'm hoping not.
Yeah, but I'm kind of the opposite here. I'm gonna say Nia takes this mainly because like she's gonna keep building herself up, and the best part with like a villain or like a bad guy or heel or whatever is to constantly have them be built up until the final day where they finally get like the rug pulled right under them and they just fall tumbling hard down onto the ground. And I also think a lot of this is going to tie into Charlotte Flair coming back. Like the whole Queen stuff, the whole like cockiness of Nia. Like I think her winning this title, and plus like a title like this really suits Nia a lot more than Liv.
Yeah.
And especially in like a storytelling standpoint. So like Nia having the title, having that another accolade, and like Tiffy again failing to cash in, like because they could probably pull that story too. I think there's more stock in Nia winning this than
I mean
Liv.
it definitely fits her more, to be honest, but
yeah.
But
yeah, okay. And for the men's side, we have, of course, Cody Rhodes taking on Gunther. And tell me, Drop, why? Who do you got and why is it Gunther? Unless it's not.
I mean, like, here's the thing. Gunther is I'll just put it like this, because Gunther is the choice I would go with. Mainly because it just makes a lot of sense for him to have something like that under his belt.
Yeah.
And it just fits the character a lot more. But there's also part of me that I recall, and just to put this out there, there's not going to be any Bill Goldberg interference because he took part in some sort of awards ceremony today, so he wouldn't even have time to go to fucking Saudi. But I don't know, that there's like a part, like I'll say it like this, there's a part of me where it's like I could see Gunther doing it because it makes sense, but there's also that part of me where he was talking to Triple H when that thing was first shown off to us, and he's like, it's gonna be the same thing that happened when I won King of the Ring, where you're just gonna hand it to me, you're gonna wrap it around my waist, and we're gonna call it a day. And to me, in a way, that sort of makes me feel like, even though it fits the character and he has said stuff like that before and he managed to pursue what he did, it sort of leads down what I was talking about before, about Nia and Gunther winning a back-to-back Saudi pay-per-view. I don't know if that's necessarily in the cards, especially when could it happen? Sure, but to me, I mean, I kind of would want to at least switch up a couple names just to make it feel a little bit different, even if it's one person. But it's like, with him, it just seems like, the confidence he has, how he thinks is everything going to be over in a flash, the way that SmackDown closed off tonight, where he like choked out Cody. But then there's also part of me thinking, well, if KO manages to handle Orton and put him out on the shelf for a little bit just to sell whatever he does in that match, because I feel like Owens is definitely winning that match, it can easily cost Cody this match, and then it adds more fuel to the fire with their feud. So it's like this could go in either direction, but there's just like this I don't know, there's just this weird part of me where it's like it could go in Cody's favor. I don't know why, but I don't know. It's just, to me, it feels like it could go in his favor, mainly because I know Michael Cole actually brought something up during the kickoff show tonight, where this would actually be the first time that Cody's family won something in like a foreign land, like outside of the US. He brought that up when he was talking to Cody during the kickoff show. So that started to like, that sent something to me where I was like, oh, I know they're really high on doing something for the first time, and they could potentially venture down that direction. So it's like, to me, regardless what happens, I mean, I'm not going to be upset if Cody loses. I'm not going to be upset with Gunther losing. I mean, both of them are deserving for this, even though I'm not really a big fan of the concept. So it could really go down either direction. The one that makes the most sense, of course, is Gunther. But I'm just going to say Cody for now. But like Gunther is what I expect to see, but I'm going to go with Cody, not just to be different. It's just, there's just signs being thrown at me.
Yeah.
Especially since he is the golden boy. I mean, if this was Roman Reigns thrown in here, you know for a fucking fact he's winning that.
Roman would definitely be winning this if he was involved in this. And I mean, I'm gonna go with Gunther. Kind of with the same reasons you had said just now. Like, I mean, Gunther's kind of made for this, but like this one's the one that's kind of the most unpredictable on the card, because like anything can happen, and even with the women's one too, it's like, with all the speculation of the interference and all that stuff, it's like, oh well, who's gonna cost who Herkader? I don't know. I feel so strongly about Gunther pulling it off, because like,
no, I get it.
Again, I think Cody has a lot more stuff to deal with, and I mean, he's already a made man. Not saying Gunther isn't, but it's just like, Gunther's the type of talent that you want to build. Like, you want to build a legacy.
It would also make that world title feel important if he wins too.
Yeah, that too. Like, which there's part of me that does feel like it needs it, but that's besides the point. All right. Well, that was the card for Crown Jewel tomorrow, and those were our predictions for all of that. And that's our show tonight. So just to kind of plug in a few things for all you lovely people in the chat, and for all you excellent people in the comments, be sure to check out our Crown Jewel coverage tomorrow. We do plan on going live at around 8 o'clock Eastern time, 8 p.m. that is Eastern time. We'll talk about the card. We'll talk about what happened, the good, the bad, the ugly, all that stuff. Be sure to also follow us on Twitter, because we do plan on live tweeting throughout the show like we normally do. So make sure you check us out there. And again, we'll be doing the show live tomorrow evening for everything. Do you have any final comments on SmackDown tonight? What Crown Jewels expected from you? Anything?
Well, that's it, really. I mean, pretty much shared all my thoughts, honestly.
Yeah, pretty much here as well. So, you know what? Just gonna take some time to thank all you guys. Thank you for coming out to the show, whether it's live, whether it's the VOD, whatever have you. Thank you guys for checking out the Weebs of the Ring podcast. If you enjoy what we had to say, be sure to check out the description below. There's a bunch of links to all of our socials, from like Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. We got the Twitch channel for NMOE Studio on there. We've got all of our socials, including Drops, mine, Vash, the rest of the production team. All those links in the description. Make sure you check that out and follow us on there, and including Weebs of the Ring, because if you're looking for us on any of the social media platforms, just type in Weebs of the Ring. You'll see our logo. You'll see whatever we've posted there. You'll check us out there. Subscribe, all that stuff. Follow everything. And also be sure to use the hashtag Weebs of the Ring whenever you're talking about these shows before, during, or after them. And we also appreciate all the feedback you guys give us, because we are nothing without you guys tuning in, and we are constantly evolving our product as we move forward in life. So again, thank you guys so much for checking out Weebs of the Ring podcast. We are presented to you by Animal We Studio. Thanks again to our production team. And thank you once again for joining us. And remember, as always, no stunt grannies were harmed in the recording of this podcast. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good one, guys. And we'll see you later in the day at around 8 p.m. for our Crown Jewel coverage.
Well, Crown Jewel starts at 12 hours.
Yeah. Actually, oh yeah. Okay.